Hello, good morning everyone, Rich Wong here, welcome back to the channel. This is the TTArtisan M-Z 6-bit adapter. It may look like a typical dumb adapter, but it is actually very smart. It is even better than TTArtisan's M2E 6-bit adapter that was released a few months ago, and I think after watching this video, some of you that don't have any Leica M mount lenses right now may even want to buy some M mount lens to shoot with your Nikon Z camera. I'm going to share with you some tricks that show you how to shoot manual focus with M mount lens very easily with this adapter. As I've mentioned just before, this adapter may look like a typical dumb adapter, but if you look at the back of the adapter, you may notice the electronic contacts, and there's also a little dial on the side of the adapter which tells you it is not the typical dumb adapter. The construction of this adapter is very nice. It is quite light, but the adapter is made of metal and it feels very solid. When I mount it on the camera with an M mount lens attached to it, there is very little amount of play, pretty much the same just like when you fit a native Z mount lens on your Nikon Z camera. The rear cover of the adapter has a USB-C port on it. I cannot find any information about this USB port, but I can only assume it is for firmware update. I'm really glad to see this port because this is something that I have discussed with TTArtisan when I was reviewing their 32mm autofocus Z lens. The front side of the adapter has a shadow chrome coating that looks super cool, and there's the 6-bit decoder at the front as well. So if you are using a Leica lens that has the 6-bit coating on the lens, the adapter can automatically detect what lens you are using and send the information like the mode of the lens, the focal length, and the maximum aperture to the camera. So your camera can record the lens information onto your photo, and also the camera's in-body image stabilization system would also work correctly. Now, if you're using a M mount lens that doesn't have the 6-bit coating on the lens, then you can use the dial on the side of the adapter and select the focal length that matches your lens. The focal length that you can choose is 28mm, 35mm, 50, 75, 90, and 135mm. So that covers most of the common Leica M mount lens focal length. Unfortunately, if you are using a lens that has some more unusual focal length, for example, the Voigtlander 21mm M mount lens, then you can't really set the focal length correctly, so you have to choose the closest focal length. So if you are shooting something like the Laowa 9mm lens, it may be better to switch off the camera's in-body image stabilization system completely, because if you set the focal length to say 28mm, but actually it is 9mm, the difference is quite big, so it may actually make it worse because the stabilization system has the wrong information to work with. Now, because the way M mount lenses was designed, the aperture setting is not transmitted from the lens to the camera. So if you want to record the correct aperture setting in your photo, you will need to shoot in aperture priority or manual mode and manually set the aperture setting on the camera to match the aperture setting on the lens. So yes, you have to remember to do that for every photo you take, but I found after doing it a few times, I kind of get used to that, so I would do that automatically when I change the aperture setting on the lens, so it's not as bad as it sounds. Or you can just don't worry about the aperture value at all, as it doesn't really affect the photo or the operation of the camera anyway. When you turn on the camera, the adapter would automatically transmit the lens information no matter you're using it with the 6-bit coating lens or not. And if you want to change your lens when the camera is on, then you can press the button on the side of the adapter and the adapter will update the lens information to the camera. If you look at the back of the adapter, you can see TTArtisan now made the inside of the adapter not just a flat surface, and this is to reduce the amount of refraction that can be caused by the adapter. I do notice that inside diameter seems to be a bit more narrow than my other dumb M-Z adapter and was wondering if it would introduce vignetting. But I did a test and compared this TTArtisan adapter with my dumb M-Z adapter, which has a much bigger inside diameter, and it appears my Rory was just a Rory as the photo looked identical in terms of vignetting. Okay, now let's talk about the fun part of this adapter. Why this adapter is so much better than the typical dumb adapter. The first thing I want to talk about is trap focus. So if you are a long-time Nikon shooter, especially some of you from the DSLR days, you would probably know what trap focus is. But if not, let me explain to you now. So first, you need to set the autofocus to AFS mode on your camera and make sure the AFS priority selection is set to focus and the AF activation is set to on. Now move the AF selection point to where your subject is. Press and hold down the shutter button. So the camera should not take any photo and the AF box would be red because the subject is not in focus. Now if you turn the focus ring slowly, as soon as the subject is in focus, the AF box would turn green and the camera would take the photo for you automatically. So this is a very quick way for you to take photo using your Leica M lens with this TTArtisan 6-bit adapter. It makes manual focus super easy and it's pretty much a semi-autofocus operation now, and you can't do that with a normal dumb adapter. However, I want to point out there are some limitations. Firstly, you have to make sure your subject or the AF box is on something that has high contrast, or else the camera cannot really know when it's in focus or not. And secondly, the result is not 100% accurate all the time. I got maybe around 85% success rate with this method. Sometimes the camera just thought it is in focus, but actually it is not for some reason. But 85% is actually not too bad, because even if I manual focus myself and do it very slowly, I still don't get 100% accuracy anyway. And this trap focus method is just a lot faster and easier, so I could always just take 2 photos in a row, and that's probably still faster than me trying to manual focus myself. But if you are someone who has been doing trap focus quite a bit and have some tips on how to improve the success rate, please leave a comment below and share some tips with us. There's also a slightly different way to do trap focus. So basically, you preset the focus distance to whatever you want, and then you don't touch the focus ring, and then you just move your camera back and forth and try to get the subject in focus. And as soon as the subject is in focus, then the camera will take a photo for you automatically. If you want to manual focus yourself instead of relying on trap focus, you could set the camera to manual focus mode, and now the camera's focus indicator can tell you whether your focus is set to too far or too close. So look at the triangle indicator on your screen or the electronic viewfinder. If you see a triangle indicator pointing towards left, it means your focus is set too far away, so you should make it closer. Or vice versa, if your triangle is pointing to the right, that means your focus is set to too close, so you should change the focus to further away distance. And when your subject is in focus, then there will be a dot to tell you that your subject is in focus. It's always great when you see companies releasing new products that make things easier. This 6-bit adapter from TTArtisan is definitely one of those. The ability to record lens information, make the IBIS to work correctly are both very handy, but allowing user to do trap focus is a big bonus even for users who know how to do manual focus very well. It's just a lot faster and easier, and of course, it's even bigger benefit if you don't really have much manual focus experience yourself and want to try out some of the beautiful M1 lenses. Now, if you are interested in this adapter, I think you should also check out my review of the TTArtisan 35mm f2 M-mount lens. I've used this lens quite a bit in this review, and it's a really nice Leica M-mount lens, but without the usual Leica price.